personal income tax were significantly liberalized. All taxpayers had reduced tax liability of 37,500 rupees. This government has again revised slabs in the new regime even now in this budget. Certainly this has an impact on the middle class, I would believe. Standard deduction for salaried employees has also been increased from 50,000 to 75,000 in the new regime in this budget. This is an effective relief of up to 17,500 for a salaried employee. This again, I would believe, benefits the middle class. So further, deduction on family pension for pensioners is proposed to be enhanced from 15,000 rupees to 30,000 rupees. For salaried employees, deduction on employers' contribution in case of employees who are in private sector and public sector banks, those who are opting for the new tax regime, has been raised from 10% to 14% in this budget. Again, middle class stands to benefit from this as well. So, in specific, in the last 2 years, substantial relief has been given to the middle class. I may point out a few things, sir, that while most developed countries were increasing personal income taxes during the COVID-19 crisis, Prime Minister Modi's direction to me, and I've said this earlier also in this House, I'd like to repeat now. Prime Minister Modi's direction to me was totally in contrast with what was happening in developed countries. No tax on our citizen to meet the COVID expenditure. And I would strongly request the honourable members to look back at what happened between 2020, 21, 22, 23. We have not increased the tax at all, sir. Effective tax on an income of 15 lakh rupees, I'm taking it as an example, effective tax on an income of 15 lakhs was reduced to 10% in 2023 and has been further reduced this year as well. So I want to make this point clear, sir. Again, I would strongly believe this would certainly help the middle class. Again, sir, I would like to remind, through you, sir, the August House, that from the days of tax terrorism, when we were accused in 2014, saying do something immediately because tax terrorism is affecting the middle class and small businesses, and the rent-seeking approach of a few in the service had really hurt many of the taxpayers. And this was one of the biggest challenges before this government earlier in 2014, again in 2019, when we're trying to bring in the faceless system. We have moved away from those days, sir, because we brought in the faceless system, which is taxpayer friendly, infused confidence in the taxpayer, and any inquiry on the tax could be responded via email or messages. Besides this, Vivad Se Vishwas schemes were brought in, as a result of which, periodically, again this time also we've come up with the Vivad Se Vishwas, and as a result of which, periodically, pending litigation and demands have all been sorted out. Relief was brought in to a wide range of taxpayers. Largely, data shows, largely the beneficiaries are MSMEs, individuals, and small companies. I would think this is also the segment which is the middle class segment. So they have found relief because of the Vivad Se Vishwas. So furthermore, small, old, and petty unverified tax demands of 90 lakh taxpayers were totally removed from the records as announced in the interim budget of 2024. ये घोषणा 2024 interim budget में हुआ था, मगर उसका असर अभी दिखने लगे कि 90 लाख टैक्स पेयर्स को हम राहत देने के लिए उस समय घोषणा की। 1.1 करोड़ एंट्रीज इससे निकला रिकॉर्ड से बाहर। इससे राहत सब मिडिल क्लास को मिलता है, छोटे बिजनेसेस को मिलता है। मैं ये जरूर कहना चाहती हूँ सर, स्टार्टअप्स के लिए, फॉर स्टार्टअप्स the removal of angel tax has come as a big relief, and this was introduced. We have removed it all right. And last year and the year before that, we tried removing the startup world from some of the provisions of the angel tax, and we thought that would address the problem. But if the festering problems really worried the small businesses and the startups in particular, we have totally removed it, abolished it. But when was it brought in? It was brought in 2012, sir. And from then, they, in spite of having at least 2 full years in their hand, the UPA government did not remove the startup. Okay, yes, 10 years, but who was the one who called it as exploitative tax?
Yes.
You called it exploitative tax. The leader of the opposition called it exploitative tax. And when he introduced it, did he not know that it was exploitative? And now, when you demand abolition of it, you forget that you brought it in, but because you now said it is exploitative, the whole world has to accept it. We have worked on it so that the burden because of these angel tax does not fall on small businesses. But eventually, after having worked on it 2 years over, we have now removed it. But I would again like to remind, sir, through you, that it was called as an exploitative tax and we shall remove it, was a claim by the one who brought it in the first place. Sir, exemption limit of 1 lakh for LTCG, capital gains, long-term capital gains, on certain financial assets, such as those which are shares and bonds, have been given, and it is in this budget raised to 1.25 lakhs, which also, I strongly believe, benefits the middle class, because small money which is getting invested in shares and stocks and in bonds for small returns that people would want to have, because their investing capacities are not very big. Even for them, this budget has given relief in that we've exempted it from any kind of tax, and that 1 lakh exemption has been enhanced to 1.25. So middle class, which finds that returns from the stock markets are much better than some of the saving schemes, and therefore who have gone there in their own wisdom, we have not taxed them, we have only given them exemption and enhanced exemption, 1 lakh to 1.25 lakh exemption, certainly aiming at the middle class, sir. Therefore, the narrative which is now being said, oh, the middle class, you put them to difficulty, you've not done anything, they are angry with you. Certainly, sir, I want the parties who are talking about middle class now to understand this country had 98% taxation in one of the earlier regimes, the ancient regimes, which also cared nothing for the fundamental rights of the citizens. The regime which brought in emergency, 98% tax. At that time, no middle class worry. No middle class worry. Sir.
Only black money.
And for the number of corruption that had happened between 2004 and 14, sir, public of India would have been much better if those monies were in the coffers rather than in the pocket of a few dynastic leaders. Sir, indirect taxes. On the customs side, sir, on the customs side, we have taken several steps to facilitate international trade, ensure processes becoming simpler and faster, and also to lead to lower logistics cost and compliance cost. And this would certainly boost the domestic production and enhance export competitiveness. So when we brought down the customs duty on several of those items listed in this budget, it was aimed at reducing the prices of raw materials and inputs, making domestic production far more cost effective. So to promote trade and employment, sir, we have in this finance bill proposed rate cuts on certain inputs for labor-intensive industries such as leather and textile sectors that will boost job creation and address duty inversion issues which are prevalent in the textile sector. Exemptions and reductions, sir, on 27 critical minerals. I know Honorable Member Supriya Sule has raised a question on it. I'll certainly come to answer specifically on that issue. But exemption and reduction on 27 critical minerals such as lithium, cobalt, and many others which are necessary for this country's strategic autonomy. Duty rate cuts on precious metals, gold and silver, because India is one of the largest hubs for cutting and polishing diamonds, and it creates jobs in big numbers. So, and also the gems and jewelry mark a very big export potential for this country. Therefore, we have brought down the duty rates here so that domestic value addition work can be better carried out for export purposes. So, duty rate cuts have also been done on certain inputs for the aqua farming area and the marine industry, so that we'll be able to export more marine products, especially for shrimp. So this is because the industry has been requesting the government. The raw materials which are being imported are critical for maintaining high standards of exports. So although domestic capacity is in the initial stages, I know some of the members of parliament have met me about capacity existing within this country, and at this stage do we want to reduce the duties. We have certainly supported the manufacturing happening in the country, but till such a time we didn't want, till such a time that they reach a level, we didn't want marine exports to suffer, and therefore some duty cuts have been brought in there as well. Over and above all this, I have also announced that there will be a comprehensive review of the rate structure over the next 6 months, and hopefully at the end of that exercise we'll have a greater simplified tax structure for our country as a whole. So this is about the indirect tax, customs duties, excise and so on. Direct tax I'll come over, sir. Again, technology-backed tax governance is what we are underlining. If income tax assessee goes to his portal to see and to file, I would like to highlight 4 major steps that have come for the taxpayers' convenience. Pre-filled income tax returns based on verified third-party information have made income reporting faster and easier. Many taxpayers themselves have said this pre-filled form actually is helpful for us. We can reject that which is wrong, but some things which we have forgotten are getting captured, and therefore the whole process is simple and easy and helpful. Second, sir, faceless regime. The faceless regime of assessment and appeals has automated major IT-related processes and reduced human interface and rent seeking. There's no discretion because it's now faceless. Third, refunds are issued within days as opposed to months. And that it used to take sometimes several months. Today, average processing time of returns has reduced from 93 days in 2013-14 to 10 days in 23-24. 93 days for refund now gets done within 10 days. A record number of filings, sir, on that. A record number of 7.28 crores of income tax returns for the year 24-25 were filed till 31st July 2024. A 7.5% increase from 6.77 crores the last year, 23-24. About 58.57 lakh ITRs. And this is a good news, which I would want honorable members to recognize. 58.57 lakh income tax returns were received from first-time income tax filers. First time they are filing. 58.57 lakh people have filed, indicating a widening of the tax base, for which a lot of effort to nudge people has been taken up by us. Sir, litigation management is also something on which we've given a lot of attention. We've made multiple announcements in this budget. I'd like to highlight some of them. Reopening and reassessment of taxes has been simplified. This is a very, very big issue because many people, many taxpayers felt, for how long should I keep this record? For how long should I remain in suspense? Till when will the income tax authorities keep asking me for documents? We have simplified that process. I want to highlight that assessment may be opened up to only 5 years post-assessment, but for the 4th and the 5th year, only if unreported income exceeds 50 lakhs. So it will be opened only up to 5 years after the assessment of that particular year is completed. But even afterwards, what is important is the 4th and the 5th year, you will open it up only if there's been unreported income of 50 lakhs or more. The period thus stands reduced from 10 years to 5 years only. Till now, all of us kept our documents for 10 years. Now it will be reduced to only 5 years, and I will be grateful to this member, all these members of this House, for bringing in that change, which will make it much more simpler for all of us, literally. In such cases, sir, scheme of block assessment has been introduced for a block of previous 6 years and the year of the search. So, for period of assessment in such cases, search happens by income tax. After that, what? How long do I? For that, in such cases, the period of assessment now stands reduced from 10 years to only 6 years, even if there was a search, not beyond 6 years. Sir, and in this budget, again, in order to relieve taxpayers of the pain of pendency, we have again brought in a Vivad Se Vishwas scheme for the settlement of all pending appeals. It is also proposed that the two regimes of taxation of charities will be merged gradually to be one. Also, monetary limit for filing appeals related to direct taxes, excise and service tax in tax tribunals or in High Court or in the Supreme Court has been enhanced to 60 lakh. Earlier it was 50 lakh. 2 crores for High Courts. Earlier it was 1 crore. And 5 crores in Supreme Court. Earlier it was 2 crores respectively. This will reduce litigation again and promote ease of doing business. So there's no hurry for small cases going into appeal. That has been clearly laid out that unless the amount is this much, you will not even go on appeal. As a consequence, sir, of the proposed upward revision of monetary limits in Finance Bill, this is a very important data. I would like to place it before the Honorable House. As a consequence of this proposed upward revision of monetary limits in the Finance Bill of 24, a total of 7,754 appeals, that is 1,044 appeals pertaining to indirect taxation and 6,710 pertaining to direct tax, are likely to be withdrawn from various judicial fora. 7,754 appeals will be withdrawn. You can understand the impact that it can make on taxpayers, the relief that it will give them, so that there are no appeal after appeal going into the courts. Whether it is the Supreme Court, High Court, or CESTAT, or ITAT, all of them will be removed. So the rationalization of TDS rates, we have proposed in this budget to reduce TDS rates from 5% to 2%, no different rates, and to eliminate section 194F, where TDS rate is 20%. So even that would be now only 2%. This will improve cash flow issues for small businesses. Again, a very big step forward for small businesses to have more money in their hands rather than give it in the name of TDS. So in this budget, sir, we have also decriminalized late payment of TDS if it is made before the deadline for filing the TDS itself, the TDS statement itself. So we have announced several comprehensive review of the Income Tax Act in this budget. So at the beginning, I did say simplification of taxation, transparency, and so on. I also said our tax proposals are aimed at inducing growth, creating employment, and bringing in investments. So a few steps that we've taken are for the shipping companies so that domestic cruise industry can grow, also for mining companies and giving a safe harbor provision for them so that they can come into this country's mining sector, corporate tax rate so that there is parity between investor, corporate, foreign company or domestic, 40 to 35% to attract greater foreign capital, sir. And transfer pricing arrangements are also being streamlined. So in broad, as an introduction, this is what I would want to say about the direct and indirect tax proposals which have come in. I will speak a bit later about the government's amendment that I'm coming up with on capital gains. But before that, I'll go to specific honorable MPs who have suggested a few things. 5 topics in all have emerged. Different MPs have spoken about different things, but I've grouped it all together. 5 topics. Tax burden on middle class was raised by, as I said, Honorable MPs Amar Singh Ji, Mahua Moitra, Neeraj Maurya, Supriya Sule, Deepinder Singh Hooda Ji, Tanuj Punia, Sachidanandam, and also Avinash Reddy Ji. I think broadly on the middle class, I did say things in the opening statement, but one narrative which keeps coming up about the corporate tax and personal income tax. I'd like to highlight just one narrative, sir. That the corporate taxes are lower than the individual taxes, not well-founded. It is not based on facts. It's all right for many honorable members to say, no, corporate taxes far lower than individual tax. I will certainly try to put forth the factual narratives on that. Corporate is a legal entity. The dividend income is also part of the corporate profits, which was earlier taxed at a lesser rate in the hands of the company. In 2020, we started taxing it in the hands of the shareholders at the applicable rate. I request through you, sir, honorable members, to see where the point that I'm trying to make is. In 2020, we started taxing it at the hands of the shareholders at the applicable rate. This effectively meant that the richer shareholders will pay tax on dividend at 39% rate, whereas in contrast, small and middle income taxpayers will pay tax on dividends at even less than 10%, which is the effective income tax rate. So this argument, oh, you're taxing less for the corporate, you're giving it all to the big corporates, you're burdening the ordinary middle class citizen, is not well founded. I would like honorable members to disabuse themselves of this misunderstanding on this issue. Sir, the gross fixed capital formation data will be of use. I did mention that the first opening speaker of the opposition, Shri Amar Singh Ji, who normally gets into a lot of economic detail, did not raise it. And I was looking forward to hearing from him on great detail about the details that he would pick up on economy-related issues. No, he just gave a very quick speech. I think he came with less information in his hand. I was looking forward to his suggestions, but that was not to be. So the gross fixed capital formation has actually shown a faster growth since pre-pandemic induced contradiction. The pandemic-induced contraction has been overcome with greater gross fixed capital formation. So we need to get the perspective on this, sir. I've laid it before the honourable members. Sir, honourable member Sri Krishna Devarayulu, he was here, yes, has raised this question about faceless assessment. Complaints have been received that too many sections are being evoked, and so on. So, simple fact which I'd like to put before him is there is a non-intrusive and transparent mechanism which is in place. The faceless assessment eliminates the human interface in total. And this point which was raised by him, saying before the reassessment, the assessor has to pay 20% of the amount, which means on the 80% status quo continues, there is no claim being made. That is the other side of the coin. You said 20% has to be paid. On paying it, 80% claim, no other, it comes almost to a standstill, it is stayed there. So that is a benefit you get out of this payment. Yes, where I'm asking for 100% claim, I'm asking you to pay 20, and 80 I'm not going to do anything till such a time the appeal verdict is coming. Is a relief for you. Sir, also again Sri Krishna Devarayulu had asked this question about Vivad se Viswas, that there are no timelines given, and high appeal pendency. So I just want to highlight